Hey everybody, Rick Hinder here, and for this segment today, well actually, first off I want to tell everybody this is the first video in my personal shop over at the farm, at the ranch. So that's kind of exciting. It's a little bit messy, but that's the way I work. So anyway, in today's segment, we are going to talk about something that I came up with years ago. I seen an issue and I thought, well, there's got to be a way that I can fix this, or I can at least make it better. And that is the addition of the Hinder Lockbar Stabilizer. And today I want to kind of discuss on just how I came up with it, what my thought process was, and really what it's done to kind of I feel have brought forward the monolock or the frame lock style of folding knife. And as we all know, Chris Reeve is the one that came up with the frame lock many years ago, and it's been a great addition to the industry. And obviously I've taken that and really embraced that whole concept. A lot of Hinder knives are based off of that frame lock. And as I was using one of my knives when I was on the fire department, I noticed that, especially with heavy gloves on, like turnout gloves, that you can inadvertently overextend the lock bar when you go to close the knife. Now, first off, we'll show you, obviously, all of you know that is the Hinder Lockbar Stabilizer. And it's just a little disc. It's actually just a disc it overlaps the lock bar from the frame on a frame lock style knife. Now, why did I call it the Lockbar Stabilizer? Especially if I developed it to correct the issue of accidentally overextending the lock bar when you close the knife. Now, what I mean by that is when you go to close the knife, you could, a liner lock, obviously you'd have the handle on there that would prevent the liner from going too far this way. And when you overextend it, you actually take out the spring, the springiness of the lock bar. Whereas frame locks do not have that. So you could accidentally push too far and actually overspring that lock bar, then your locking knife won't lock anymore. So obviously the Lockbar Stabilizer prevents that from happening. There's no way that it will be able to be extended past a certain point. So why did I call it the stabilizer then? Well, it has another function. And this is something that I noticed on some frame lock knives, is in order to make how a frame lock is made, or monolock, there's different terms for this style, is you take a solid piece. In this case, on my XM18, it's a 164,000 solid piece of 6Al4V titanium. Now, it's a harder titanium, so it can be a spring. So you cut this lock out of this solid piece of titanium, and that becomes the lock bar, and it springs downward with the addition of a cutout that allows it to become a spring. Now, all frame locks have this slot cut in, and that slot is what I was seeing an area in where the Lockbar Stabilizer comes in, why I call it a stabilizer. When you're gripping the knife, there's a tendency, especially if you grip it hard, that you can actually feel this lock bar moving up towards the top of the knife because of the fact you have this cut in here. So now it's a very, very small movement, but it was still a movement. And so that is where the stabilizer comes in. This button, this little piece of metal, a piece of steel or titanium, it actually prevents this lock bar from going backwards towards the back of the knife. So it actually stabilizes that lock bar so that it doesn't move. So that's why it does two things. It's an over travel stop, as well as it stabilizes that lock bar, which helps prevent movement of that lock bar. Now, since then, now this was many years ago. I'm sure there's some of you guys out there who would know exactly when I came out with the Hinder Lockbar Stabilizer. But obviously it went on my knives first. I believe it was the Fire Tack that it was first adopted into, and then from there the Flame and the XM18. During that time period, the very first, because right now there's a lot of different makers and companies that have adopted the Lockbar Stabilizer for use on their frame lock style knives. And actually the very first company that came to me about using the Lockbar Stabilizer was Strider Knives. Mick called me up one day, and he's seen the value of it and asked me if he had permission to use the Lockbar Stabilizer, and yes, I made a deal with him, and I made the very first ones. I made the Lockbar Stabilizer. Actually, my wife Lori made the Lockbar Stabilizers in the shop for Strider Knives, and we put Hinder on those stabilizers, on those buttons. And those are quite sought after now, the old style Lockbar Stabilizer buttons with the Hinder engraved in them. So they were the first company that actually, outside of Rick Hinder Knives, that actually used it and adopted it. And now there's a lot of different companies that and knife makers that have used it, which gives me great honor that it is thought of well enough in the industry to be utilized. And so there you have it. There's the story of the Hinder Lockbar Stabilizer. And I hope you found it informative. It's one of those things that you see on almost every Hinder folding knife. And now you have the story of where it came from and what its use is for. So thanks a lot for watching, and I'll see you on the next one.